Hello, everybody, and welcome back for week number 2 of the Scores and Odds College Football Betting Breakdown Show. I'm going to be your host this week, Sean PSU Fans 2 Newsham. Joining me, as always, my good friend, Alex Fearmyturtle Hardin. Alex, how's it going heading into week 2 here for you?
It's going pretty well. Kind of a rough week last week. We'll get into the recap. It's more worse that I'm okay losing, but you winning is probably worse. So we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for you. Not as much for me, which we'll talk about here. For all of you guys joining us today, please make sure you guys smash the like and subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. We really appreciate it. It helps with the algorithm, so definitely hit that up for us if you guys don't mind. Going into the week 1 sort of breakdown, like we said, we're going to track over the course of the year how we do on the bets. We're going to pick out 3 bets a week from stuff that we talk about on the show and keep track of that. A note for this, we have decided going forward, we're not going to use any money lines. We will talk about money lines if we like them, but for betting purposes, we're just going to try to use either sides or totals that end up around minus 105, minus 110, just so we can have a similar track record. But some of us started out really strong. Others of us did not. So I'll talk about mine first, and then we'll segue in, Alex. So I had 3 bets last week. I smashed all of them by combined 3 points.
Can you run better? Yeah.
I don't think I'll have a hotter streak of the year, but so I like Penn State on the Thursday night slate. They won 35-31, and I had it at minus 3.5 points, so covered that one by 0.5 point. Florida State money line on the Sunday night game, where I won that by a blocked extra point at the tail end of the game. And then the Arkansas against Cincinnati, where Arkansas won by a touchdown, I had it at minus 5.5. So for week 1, I start out a solid 3-0. Alex, moving over to you, I'll let you break down your week.
Well, I knew after USC scored like their 3rd defensive touchdown, my Rice and the points bet was cooked. But USC, like Rice did move the ball, but they got totally blown out in the end, like 66-14. So that was definitely more than 33.5 points. So I lost that one. San Diego State, not a great showing. My boy Jacob Cowing like solely ended them with 3 touchdowns receiving on the other side. So that was a rough one. And Boise State got absolutely plowed by Oregon State. So, which was another surprising result. But week 1, we see crazy things in college football. Get my head straight and hopefully pick some winners this week.
Yeah, it was a rough week for you. Luckily, I was able to batten down the hatch here and even pull out a money line at plus 129. So it was a good start for me. Hopefully, I can keep that going. Hopefully, for Alex's sake, he can get above 0% this week and show you guys some winners out there. Worst case comes worst. You guys just follow whatever Alex doesn't like, and you go that way. So it works either way. So heading into this game, we got about 10 games for you guys. We're going to talk about the key games over the course of the weekend. We're trying to give you guys a game at each and every segment of the weekend so that you guys always will have something to bet on if you guys are looking for something to bet on. So starting off, there are 2 games on Friday night. We start out Louisville Cardinals at UCF. They get to face off against our boy, John Reese Plumlee, who went off last week, had a massive game, put up 300-plus yards passing, ran the ball all over the field. On the flip side, Louisville looked absolutely atrocious. They could not move the ball at all. Malik Cunningham looked completely inept against a Syracuse team. So starting with this game, as you guys see, we've seen some line movements here. Make sure you guys check out the Scores and Odds to check out line movements, check out different things going on. And then also make sure you guys follow along Scores and Odds. You guys can also get picks and see what picks happen. You see here, I gave a bonus prize pick for the week for Malik Cunningham over 37.5 yards rushing. It did move. How I'm going to try to mark this stuff is I'll say I like it up to a certain amount. So if you see it below that amount, you can take it for that purposes. So looking at this UCF game, as you guys see here, the line has moved a little bit. It's moved from UCF -8, where it opened, to around 5.5. So Alex, what is your thoughts here in this game?
I think that the opener was just like an overreaction for the Louisville game, probably. And I'm assuming Sharp Money kind of bet that number down to something more reasonable. I don't really love anything with this game. It's more of a wait and see. Like the Louisville performance was so mind blowing that like I don't know if that was just an aberration or if there's something going on there. Malik Cunningham did not look like himself. So Interested to actually see this game and see how Louisville responds. But I mean, if anything, I would lean to the UCF side just because I have more confidence that they can actually move the ball and they have more playmakers, in my opinion. But I mean, could be an interesting game. I don't like anything from a sides and total perspective. Do you?
The only thing that I'm probably a little bit interested in is over the 61, 61.5, where it sort of looks to be hovering. I do think that there could be points in this game. However, I am a little bit concerned about Louisville's inability to move the ball. I actually like Louisville probably more than UCF. I think last week was a complete shock to them. I think that they will be better this week because I don't think they can be worse. It was an atrocious game by them. And I think you could even make a case to look at Louisville money line. It's about plus 175. I think they have a chance to win the game. So if you want to take a flyer there, you could definitely go at the Louisville money line here and see what you want. Next game on the weekend, we have the big game, the Alabama at Texas game. So we see here the line has moved quite a bit. It opened at 16.5 for Alabama. It has moved into the 20s. We see it's at 20.5 on most sites. The total is around 64.5 as well for this game. So what is your thoughts with the Alabama-Texas game, Alex?
I mean, Alabama's obviously great. I'm still worried that they don't have the same firepower at receiver that they've become accustomed to lately. The jury's still out on that. It's a lot of points here, and it seems to still be moving. I shade towards the Texas side and the points. However, I wouldn't put a bet in now. I would wait and try to get it to 21 and then fire on Texas. I think they're going to be able to move the ball. They have a lot of weapons. It should be an interesting game. I don't know. Bama's obviously great all around, but it's a lot of points against a talented team who I think can keep it closer than 3 touchdowns. That's kind of my high level thoughts.
Yeah, I think that I tend to agree with you. I really don't like it at 20.5 where it's at right now. I think that I would wait till 21.5. If it got over 21, I would probably be leaning the Texas side, which it does look like it's possible it gets there. It's trending that way. Like it's already cracked over some big lines at 17 and 20. And it's a situation where I like Alabama. I think Alabama is definitely the better team here. They were able to just blow out last week's opponent. And we didn't even really see much of Jahmyr Gibbs, who you and I both like a lot. So I think that Jahmyr Gibbs could get a bit more showcase here. We know Texas is going to feed Bijan. We know that Bijan is the key to their success. I just don't know if they have enough firepower this early in the season to win. So this is sort of a stay away spot for me. If it got to 21.5, I would probably more so consider Texas side of things. But as of right now, I'm not as interested in it. All right, moving into the next game, we have Tennessee against Pitt. As you see here, the line opened at 3.5. And it has moved to around 6.5 on quite a few sites. The total is 66. I like Tennessee in this game. I think Tennessee looked very good last week. I thought Pitt struggled offensively against West Virginia. I do think they'll be able to move the ball here, but their offense just is not the same as what it was last year. And I think they're going to struggle a bit offensively. So I actually like Tennessee as long as it remains below a touchdown. Once you get over a touchdown, it's going to be a bit concerning for me. So what's your thoughts on this one?
I like the Tennessee side too. And obviously betting the opener on this would have put you in a pretty good spot. I think it's okay still. I don't love it. I think the line's probably pretty efficient by now, both in the side and in total. I think Pitt would be better if they just started like Nick Patty at quarterback. I don't get all the Slovis love. I don't get why he's always talked about as like a great transfer coming in. He did not look great. He's not super mobile. And also this offense is just going to be a lot less fun. It's going to be more running, not as dynamic. I don't think they can keep up with Tennessee scoring here. We saw last year, Pittsburgh allowed a lot through the air, and that's what Tennessee's going to really do, air it out. Hooker has plenty of weapons to throw the ball to. I shade towards the Tennessee side here. Wish could have got it earlier, but yeah, I like Tennessee.
Yeah, and it's something to know. Like you said, I think that Pittsburgh is going to run a different offense. It looked much worse, which makes sense. They've also lost Kenny Pickett and moved to Keenan Slovis. I'm with you 100% on Slovis. You and I have watched Slovis for years now, and every game he just looks like he has a noodle arm. His arm, he took a big hit a couple years ago, and his shoulder just has never looked the same. And he just floats balls sometimes and looks terrible. But they had no business winning that game last week. Bryce Ford Wheaton basically handed the game to them on a platter when they should have just been running the ball. So West Virginia should have won last week. And like you said, Tennessee, I mean, granted, the opponent was weak last week, but they looked unbelievable offensively. They were just going at will. You have a lot of weapons with Hyatt, Tillman, some other options as well. So I definitely like the Tennessee side here. As long as you remain under touchdown. Once you clear the touchdown mark, I wouldn't be as interested. And like you said, I wish we got it earlier. All right, next game, we have Houston against Texas Tech. As you guys see here, the line open Texas Tech -3.5. It's moved to around 2.5 or 3, depending to where you look. The total's around 65. So Houston looked not good last week. They did not use their best player, Nathaniel Dell. They basically didn't use him at all. Every time they did use him, he scored a touchdown. So it was a pretty baffling decision. Granted, their opponent was decent last week. I actually like Houston here getting the points. I think Houston is a better team than Texas Tech. It's just a situation where I believe Tyler Shook is out and will not play. So Texas Tech's down to Donovan Smith at quarterback. He does have plenty of experience, but I think overall I like the Houston side of this a slight bit better, especially on FanDuel. As you guys see here, using scores and odds, you can see that Houston's +2.5 on FanDuel. So I'd rather have them on DraftKings where it's +3. So make sure you guys are shopping for your lines to dictate what you get at different places, because you might get half a point that matters tremendously on a given week, as I proved last week with my 3 games that were won by 3 points combined. So getting that half a point can be big sometimes. What's your thoughts here, Alex?
I generally agree with you in liking the Houston side more. I think Texas Tech is going to get better as the season goes along offensively, but still kind of tough spot without their starting quarterback. Actually, probably my favorite play in this game is the under. It's just a bit too many points. Already see it coming down a bit. So like it's at 63 currently. Yeah, I think that's probably good for another 2 points. So I would lean the under in this game. Just a bit too many points here for me.
For sure. All right, into the next game, we go from a spot where you like the under to a game where I'm sure you're excited about the offensive explosion. We have Iowa State at Iowa. We saw Iowa came out last week and they played a vintage Iowa game. They won 7-3 against South Dakota State, and 4 points were from safeties. So it is pretty confident to say that Iowa is pretty terrible when it comes to moving the ball and scoring points. And actually, when you see 3.5, this is like really 21 points because that's how bad their offense is. However, as much as I am making fun of them currently, I actually think I like Iowa. Their defense is going to be unbelievable again this year. They return pretty much everyone to the defense, and it's been no different from what we've seen over recent years. Like Iowa over the years has not been able to score. Nothing has changed here. They're still not going to be able to score. However, I think their defense is much better than Iowa State, an Iowa State team that has lost their main guys in Brock Purdy and Breece Hall from last year. So I think I like Iowa here, but man, do not expect many points in this game. You could definitely make a case that the under is the right bet at 41.5 as well. So what do you think here, Alex?
You're familiar with El Clasico, right? Well, the internet's only college football podcast, Shutdown Fullcast, coined this game El Assico, which I think is an apt description because this game is just total ass every year.
Pretty accurate.
I'm not going to touch a side. I do think actually like the over, I mean, the total is so low that I don't know. I'm not going to bet the under, but numbers are showing a little bit of value on over 40.5. But
if you're betting over 40.5 in this game, you like punishment because that's rough.
You can't like bet that and then actually watch the game. You just have to like check the score at the end and just be like, did they get there or not? But yeah, ugly game. I have no real interest. I just wanted to point out how terrible this game is from an actual like watching football perspective. So that's why it's on our list.
Yeah, if you like defense, this game's for you. So if you are a defensive-minded guy that wants to see no points be scored, this is where you go to look. All right, next game, we have Kentucky and Florida. Big win last week for Florida. I know it ruined a lot of your future bets with Cameron Rising and Utah. You were big on them. And to be fair, I thought those were great bets going into the season. But we see Florida opened at -5 or -6.5. It has moved to -5 over the course of the week. You can still get it about 5.5 in some places as well. So what's your thoughts here, Alex?
I think my opinion of Florida changed a lot after week one, maybe more than any other team, just how they came out. We finally saw like Anthony Richardson like getting a full starting job, and you wonder how he just sat on the bench all last season when they were running out Emory Jones. They look great. It looks like the team, like Billy Napier had them ready to play. Like he's always had strong teams at Lafayette, and now Louisiana, and now he gets like all the like talent. Like instead of like 2 and 3 star guys, he has 4 and 5 star guys. So like it's a proven system that's worked, and it seems like it's off to a good start. They're like Richardson can win games single handedly offensively, and it looks like their defense is going to be pretty strong. I am concerned that Kentucky is actually better than like we kind of think they are. Just they built a pretty strong program. They lack that like one offensive name that they've had in the past, like a Wandale, which concerns me, but their defense should be really strong. Probably just this line move is just more off of the Florida result last week. I think I don't really have any interest on either side, but if this creeped up to like 7, I think it's probably the right call to take some Kentucky plus the points, just because it should be a competitive game, and 7's probably too much here. But at 5.5, it's kind of a stay away for me. Although I think Florida probably wins. It's one of those things where my numbers show value in Kentucky, but my eyes say probably should be betting Florida early here before like everyone really catches up to what they could be. But what do you think here?
Yeah, I think part of the thing too is we're talking about the numbers and we're talking about what looks from historical points, but it's hard to really translate, like you said, Napier moving from Louisiana Lafayette to Florida. He has a lot more talent to work with a system that worked really well with less talent. So we talked about it before the season. We thought there was a chance they could be really good or really bad based on how the system would be. And they looked good in the first game. He even brought his boy Montreal Johnson, who had a touchdown last week. He's a guy that has quite a bit of talent, so that's not surprising. But like you said, with Richardson, I think Richardson's really good. The issue is Kentucky's also pretty solid, and they're pretty good defensively. They're without Chris Rodriguez. I believe he's still suspended from DUI over the offseason. They don't have the GOAT, Wandale Robinson, so that hurts as well. It definitely looks like they lack that big-time playmaker. But this game's probably a stay away from me. I think it could be a pretty low-scoring game. I think the under is an okay bet, but I wouldn't really touch anything else in this game. All right, moving on to the next game. We talked about USC earlier. We have USC at Stanford. USC is -9 or -8.5 at this point. Again, look at the betting odds. Make sure you guys are shopping for your lines. You have 9.5 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. You have 8.5 at DraftKings. So it's a situation where you guys want to make sure you guys are looking at it. For me, I like USC a lot here. I think USC is the real deal. I think that their players might get frustrated due to rotations that they're going to go through, but I don't think Stanford's very good. And I think USC is a much better team. So for me, this is definitely a spot for USC with Jordan Addison coming in with a lot more talent on USC than we've seen in years past. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm still not sold yet on USC, but they should win here handily versus Stanford team, who I'm less and less impressed with them like every season of the David Shaw era, basically. USC just has so many weapons offensively. They should be able to move the ball. I'm still a little worried that their defense is not going to be good enough for them to make a serious run this year. So it's kind of a stay away for me, but I do lean the USC side. The total's kind of high, but just with all the weapons, I'm not ready to fire on an under in a game environment where I think one offense is elite and they have a defense that's suspect. That's a recipe for some games that get out of control. So it's kind of a pass for me, but definitely lean USC.
I think that USC, so the thing is like you said, you're not sold on them. I'm sold on them enough that they're better than the Pac-10 or the Pac-12 teams that they're playing. And that's where my issue is here. Like them being -9 against Stanford, I think it should be more like 17. I think it's pretty far off. This is definitely something we'll be touching on later in my 3 bets of the week. But I like USC a lot here. I think it's one of my favorite bets that I see on the week. All right, next game, Arizona State at Oklahoma State. We saw Oklahoma State struggled last week. They were able to pick off the win. Arizona State, they were a lot more solid, but they weren't very explosive. We see Emory Jones here now at quarterback. We see Xavier Valladay. He definitely looked like the RB1. So what's your thoughts here, Alex?
I think it's too many points. We saw Oklahoma State score 1 million last week, but that was against a MAC defense, and they didn't really slow down Central Michigan. Like Daniel Richardson, their 5'6" quarterback who weighs like 200 pounds, was just like running up and down the field on them. Like, I don't know. Oklahoma State will probably be better defensively as the season goes along, but in a game that should be fairly competitive, I think this is too many points. So I like the Arizona State side a little bit. I still think Oklahoma State likely wins this game, but 11.5 is a bit much for me. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a situation where that was very concerning. Giving up that many those amount of points to a MAC team is a little bit concerning from Oklahoma State, a team that has had a really good defense over the last couple of years. I would agree it's probably too many points, but this is a stay away from me. I just don't really love what Arizona State's doing either. So I think that they're a bit concerning. And then on Oklahoma State side of the ball, like you give up that many points to Central Michigan, I mean, that's a concerning situation for me. So this is a stay away from for me. I want to see a little bit more out of both teams before I have a strong stance on either. All right. Next game, we have Baylor BYU. Last week, BYU was up by like 4 touchdowns after like 30 seconds in the game. Puka Nacua went nuts on them. He did get hurt, however. We saw a defensive touchdown. We just saw the offense blow out South Florida. Whereas the Baylor side of the ball, they were able to pick up the win as well. I probably like BYU here. I think that they're probably a slight bit better than what Baylor is. That said, it's probably pretty close for me. If you get up to 6-7 points, I'd be more apt to taking Baylor, but I would lean BYU here. I actually don't really love this game though on either side. What's your thoughts, Alex?
I don't love it either, and I would lean Baylor in the points, just being over that key number 3. And it should be a tight game. Wasn't a great test for BYU, just in the sense that the game was over early due to some just like defensive touchdowns, and like things just went their way initially and kind of set the stage for them playing from so far ahead that it wasn't really a competitive game. Like USF's offense moved the ball a bit in the second half. I think Baylor can do the same here. It should be a tight, competitive, good game, but I'd lean taking the points with Baylor.
For sure. All right, last game that we're going to cover on the slate, we have Mississippi State against Arizona. We saw last week your boy, Jacob Cowing, went absolutely bonkers for Arizona and basically single-handedly carried them to a victory, going like 3,000 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. So it was a pretty impressive game by Cowing. We see a big line movement here. It opened up Mississippi State -7. It's moved to around 11 or so. The over-under is 59.5. I actually like the over here. I think that both teams have offenses that can move the ball a bit. As we see, it has come down a little bit. It started at 61. It's moved down to around the 59 mark. But I like the over here. I also probably like Mississippi State. I don't think Arizona is very good. I think that they have one guy that can do stuff, and that's Cowing. And outside of that, it's a very rough team. So what is your thoughts here with Mississippi State versus Arizona?
I like the under. So I have a chance to pick up a game on you here, I think, possibly. I think the under is just a different way of attacking Mississippi State for me in this game. I would like them at -7, but it's moved up to 11. I can't lay that, but I do think that they snuff out Arizona's offense quite a bit. And Mississippi State, while they throw a ton, it's a lot of short stuff that keeps the clock moving. So I could see a situation where they win by two touchdowns, and Arizona just doesn't get that many plays off, and it's a pretty tame game. But I mean, I see your side. Like if Cowing can get loose and score some long touchdowns, that definitely speeds up the game. I just think Mississippi State's pretty solid defensively. Arizona probably overperformed week 1. I like the under.
Yeah, I think that we can pretty safely agree here that we both like Mississippi State. I think that if one unit gets shut down, it's going to be the Arizona offense, not the Mississippi State offense. Would you agree?
I would, yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely agree on Mississippi State. I would like the over, but I think that's because I think that Cowing can get loose a little bit and make some plays happen, enough to get to the over. But I do like Mississippi State better in that side of things. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the actual game breakdown this week. If you guys are listening, make sure you guys smash the like and subscribe button. Make sure you guys check out Scores and Odds because we will be posting picks there. You can also use the great tools that we have to find betting movements, lines, spreads, everything that you need to know for betting purposes on ScoresAndOdds.com. So make sure you guys are checking that out. All right, Alex, I'll let you go first with your 3 bets of the week that you like.
All right, my 3 best bets for the show are 1, Texas plus 20.5. 2, Mississippi State under 59.5. And then Arizona State plus 11.5. So Texas, the Mississippi State, Arizona under, and Arizona State for me.
All right. For me, I'm going to choose different games. I have Houston plus 3. I have USC minus 8.5. Like I said, that's probably my favorite bet of the week. And then I actually like Iowa minus 3.5, but I would not recommend watching that game if you want to enjoy the games on Saturday. But I do think Iowa covers that and probably wins by a touchdown or 2. They're just a better team right now than that of Iowa State. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us this week. We will see you guys back here next week. Good luck to all of you with all your bets this weekend. We'll see you guys later. Good luck.
See you.